Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Poverty, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. Today we got a clip from Savvy Finance with CEO Matt Hogan from Bitwise, I believe is his company. But he's going to be breaking down basically kind of the same thing I just keep talking about. And it's like you got to keep talking about this till you're blue in the face. I feel like this is definitely become a passion project, and it's due to getting orange pilled. But before getting orange pilled, living overseas and seeing the value of my US dollars in another country and understanding why the dollar was so valuable in other countries as the US reserve currency. But it didn't really click. It's just like, okay, this gives me a better life. And Bitcoin is that next step. It's the better life for not only the Americans whose dollars are being debased, but for people everywhere. It is the first global free market, the first and only. Let that sink in. You could never before, pay for a good or service in another country with a single monetary unit at the click of a button. For example, I can go to Upwork or Fiverr and get a gig from somebody, to do some social media work or something like that. That goes through that company, which typically holds your money for a little while. Then it goes through Stripe, and then it goes to whatever currency for the person that wants it. I can go straight to that person and pay them directly in their wallet. A dude in Bangladesh, somebody in the Philippines, Zimbabwe, it doesn't matter. Let that value sink in of what that is doing to the market and how that is allowing people from all over the world to be able to put their services up to a global market. And as Jeff Booth, state of the market deflation. What does that do to prices if you have the same product and service, but from different markets all around the world? That means you have to compete. And if you're competing, the best and most affordable will win. It's common sense when you see it through that lens. But all that has nothing to do with Matt Hogan. So let's play his clip.
The reason we took it on, what people may not understand, is that long-term capital market assumptions are sort of the core of how traditional investors in the professional markets allocate to different asset classes. You can't build a portfolio that decides to invest so much in stocks and so much in bonds and so much in real estate and maybe so much in crypto if you don't have any data-driven way to know what to expect from those assets. Is now a good time to invest in stocks or a challenging time? What's the outlook for bonds? What's the outlook for crypto? We've been in the market at Bitwise for 8 years serving professional investors. And until last year, no one had asked me for a long-term capital markets assumption paper on Bitcoin because the largest institutions weren't looking at this asset class. But last year, more than a dozen firms requested it of us. And so we set aside as a team, how do we do this? How do we build up a fundamental data-driven long-term view of where Bitcoin is going over the next 10 years and where it fits in portfolios? And of course, and Ryan will jump in here, we started with what you started with, Bob, which is the macro picture and the need for this insurance against the huge buildup of debt and currency.
Let that sink in as well. These are people that have access to other people with large amounts of capital. And what he just said is that until last year, no one had ever asked him for a long-term projection or thesis of where Bitcoin is going in 10 years. It just was this crypto punk, thing that they could have cared less about. They only had long-term outlooks on stocks and commodities and treasury bonds and gold. And that's how they allocated their portfolio. Now, Bitcoin has been beating the drum saying, hey, we're an asset class too. But until last year, for his firm at least, no one cared. So the writing is on the wall if these companies are now starting to take notice. And that's what he's going to dig into about what that potential market is. So it's certain, clearly, from, again, people like him with inside opinions and analysis, that the big money is taking notice. So if that is 100% certainty, that's what he's seeing, and his team had to sit down and create this, then what does that mean for you, the small bag holder, or the person looking at Bitcoin going, oh, I can't afford it? It's like, well, if the big money is looking at it, you can't afford not to look at it.
The risk that we're seeing in the macro environment.
Why Bitcoin has value.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a question I get all the time because Bitcoin doesn't generate cash flows, right? The reason stocks has value is they generate cash flows. And people always ask me, how do we know Bitcoin is worth anything? How do we know it has any value? And the framing that I used in that write-up is that from my perspective, Bitcoin just provides a service. And the service is the ability to store wealth in a digital format without a government or a bank. And today, hundreds of millions of people around the world want that service. The reason this is a clarifying way to think about Bitcoin, again, it's a service, the ability to store wealth in a digital format without a government or a bank, is because we're used to services having value. If you think of any company in the world, let's think of Microsoft. Microsoft provides a service, which is the ability to edit Word documents and do Excel and do Teams calls. And people pay Microsoft to access that service. If you want Microsoft service, you buy a subscription to their software. The more people who want that service, the value of Microsoft goes up. The fewer people who want it, the value goes down. And critically, if no one wants Microsoft service, the value of Microsoft is zero. The same thing is true of Bitcoin. The more people who want this service, the ability to store wealth in a digital format without a government or bank, the value of Bitcoin goes up. If fewer people wants it, the value goes down. If no one wants it, the value is zero. The difference is you can write a check to Microsoft because it's a company with a CEO and employees. You can't write a check to Bitcoin. There is no CEO of Bitcoin. The only way to get the service that Bitcoin provides is to buy Bitcoin. If you buy Bitcoin, you get the service. But other than that, it's simply identical. More people want it, the value goes up. Fewer people, the value goes down. No one wants it, the value goes to zero. What we show in this report is that more and more people want this service. And with US debt at $36 trillion and growing, with money printing going around the world, I think more and more people want the service of storing wealth in a digital format without a government or a bank. And that's what creates the value of Bitcoin. I mean, it's totally crazy.
That's another one. So the ability to store wealth in a digital format without a government or bank, that is as he said, a service. But I still think the global free market is a much stronger, I guess they go hand in hand, right? Because if I can trade with someone, after I trade, if I have excess, or let's say I'm adding more value to the market, so whatever my product or service is, I'm putting that out there and people are buying it, and then I'm spending less than I make back in. Well, that means, yeah, I do need to store that wealth somehow. So they definitely go together. But again, the idea, or the thing that you really need to wrap your head around, is that this never existed until, was that 2008? Was that 16 years ago, basically? So how do you evaluate something that literally only has a 16-year history? That is a small, like in human years, like if you were to look at the average, I had to look this up. I paused because I wanted to see how I could actually frame this. So like if you were trying to put this new economic machine in the framework of a human being, just to use simple, easy numbers, let's say the average lifespan of a human being is 100 years. We know it's not, but just make it 100. Agricultural societies, they're saying, came into existence 12,000 years ago. That means for every one human year, you'd have 1,000, 120 agricultural economic years. And Bitcoin being at 16 years old puts that basically 120 times 16 is just under 2,000. So that's only 15% or so of the agricultural economic vehicle that we created. If you go back to 200,000 years, it's even smaller than that. So the point I'm getting at is that like Bitcoin is still like a toddler in regards to human years. And if you were to take, human years turn into economic trade years. So that just means that it has so much more room to grow and evaluate. And it also means we don't know how to completely wrap our head around it and understand it because it hasn't been around long enough.
Crazy. It's out of control, right? Like growing up, we always had debt and deficits and we worried about it. But since COVID, it's exploded. We're running 6 or 7% budget deficits during times of economic growth. Just the interest on the debt amounts to $6,000 for every taxpayer in the US every year. Just the interest. That's like the minimum charge on your credit card bill. And that keeps compounding because we keep spending more and more money. So, the need for insurance is directly related to the scale of the risk. I live in California. The need for fire insurance is high because we have a lot of fires and the conditions are ripe for more fires. In the US, the need for insurance against this fiat debasement has gone from small to really significant, and it's gotten on a life of its own. Like, I think there is no way out at this point. We've tried everything. The government's just going to keep spending money. It's the only thing we agree on as a country is we should print and spend more money. And so I think you need a little bit of insurance, and Bitcoin is exactly that.
I would caveat that and say it's not insurance, because like insurance is in case shit happens. So you're buying into something in case, you get a fire or you get an accident in your car. This is the only way out. But looking at it through the insurance lens definitely helps, like he said, the people that are managing big amounts of money and they want to allocate certain percentages towards their portfolios. Well, they're naturally going to want some insurance on their portfolio. So they've got allocations to gold and stocks and bonds and all this other stuff, commodities. So they're looking at this new asset class that's popping up and they're like, oh, yeah, maybe I should put 1% to 2% into that allocation because it is a new asset class and I don't have any exposure to it. So just in case, some of these other ones dump, let me have some over here. So that definitely makes sense. But for everyone else that's not benefiting from that economic machine, like Jack Mallers says, like if you don't hold assets, like the top 1%, then you don't benefit from the debasement. Those people that Matt Hogan works with or manages for, they benefit from the debasement of currency. Like they can have the Mag 7, and as that money gets filtered back in, those stocks go up. So they win. Their portfolio goes up. It goes into gold. It goes into other commodities and other risk-on assets. So if you have a portfolio full of that shit and you're just constantly being debased, yeah, you're going to win. But if you don't have any assets, like big time assets like that, not just some house, then you're losing. So for us, that don't have assets like that, it's not insurance. It's like survival. It's like air. You can't live without it. You will suffocate and die in the old system if you continue to stay in it. Like that is the outcome. Look at history and you can see that the fiat currencies of every single country and empire have gone to zero. And since the creation of the dollar, it has already lost 99.9% of its value. So are you going to bet that it's going to be that outlier that survives? Or are you going to bet in this thing that is literally built outside of the system? So suffocate and die staying on, the fiat life support system, or get out and get air on Bitcoin. It's not insurance. It's life. I was going to say a life policy, but that'd be insurance again. It's a necessary thing to survive, to live. Air. You can't live without it. All right, that's all I got for this video. Smash that HBO special. Help a brother out. Like, subscribe, comment down below. And until next time, lift daily and achieve your impossible. See ya.